dominate 5 wins in a row on the back of a top 5 defense in the NFL right now. And Jalen Hurts bouncing back from some struggles early, but obviously finished off with 4 touchdowns and playing really well. It's hard not to think Super Bowl right now. And I know we got a long way to go, but boy, oh boy, Hugh, yesterday they did exactly what I thought they should do. They took apart a team that stinks. The Cowboys are bad. That quarterback stinks. Lance can't play when he came in. And you always say, beat them because they're bad.
Beat them because they're bad.
And
man.
the Eagles went down to Dallas, and they put an exclamation point. Their first win there since 2017, which we know ended in a Super Bowl trip. Hugh Douglas, I'm thinking big because the Eagles are playing some of the best football in the NFL. What's your reaction to that victory yesterday, Hugh?
Hey, they're playing with a lot of confidence. I had epiphany yesterday, man.
Oh, wow.
And, I'm watching the game, and I'm watching the way that this defense is playing. I'm watching how the offense struggled early on. I'm watching how it looked like my prediction was going to come true. It was a little bit – you sweated it for the beginning of the game because it looked like it might be a little bit of a slog.
Well, it was slog the first half, really.
And when the defense started playing well, man, and they started getting those takeaways and, cats flying all over the place, I was like, damn, I might have to shave. I was like, okay, so now I started trying to figure out, because you said the beard. So now I'm trying to look for a compromise in this situation. Like, I'm like, a soul patch is cool. The flavor saver. I just cut the flavor saver and see what it looks like. But I was like, I still got time, but they're playing well, man. They're playing with a lot of confidence. And I even took back that take that I had about Zach Bond because it's something to be said about playing with confidence. And this team right now, this defense is playing with a lot of confidence, man. They got a lot of moving parts out there. They have a committee pass rush. No question about that. They're pass rush by committee. And they're doing well. They're playing well. Secondary's playing well. Cooper DeJean showed me some things yesterday. Quinyon Mitchell still hasn't gotten an interception, but, man, that man is sticky in coverage. So, yeah, I was like, damn, I might have to go in and shave.
Well, you might have to shave your beard because this defense is going to allow less than 17 a game, and we might be headed towards something special this year. 215-592-9494. All right, obviously yesterday was kind of a weird start. You mentioned it, Hugh. They had the 2 turnovers by Jalen Hurts in the first half with the interception in the end zone, the fumble by their own goal line. But much like the Green Bay game in Week 1, the defense stood up and didn't allow the Cowboys, because the Cowboys could have easily gotten 2 cheap touchdowns, right? And then this game would have been a little bit different. It would have been a little bit hairy until the middle of the third quarter or whatever. And no, I never got that way because the Eagles' defense continues to just be so much different than they were a year ago. These guys could play. You mentioned Quinyon. Cooper DeJean has been a total difference maker. Zach Bond, I said to you, I think last week and yesterday, just like offhand, he's a Pro Bowler. No, forget that. He might be an All-Pro. That's how good he has played this season.
He's been balling.
He's been everywhere. They're getting production out of everyone on the defensive side of the football. And then the offense, they have so many ways to beat you. So many ways to beat you. 215-592-9494. Jalen Hurts bounced back from the rough start, finished strong, 4 touchdowns. And Hugh, as we come in here today, as the Cowboys season is dead and the Eagles season is very much alive, leading towards something huge on Thursday night.
Something special.
Commanders coming in here. We'll get to all that as the week goes on and the day goes on. But the 2 things that are standing out to me and why I do believe this team has Super Bowl, real chances.
Aspirations.
Real aspirations to make the Super Bowl. 2 things. One is obviously the defense. They're second in the NFL now in yards per play allowed. They have become a top 5, top 6 defense really fast here. And I know, and we'll talk about it, they haven't played the best offenses and best teams. Yesterday, Cooper Rush stinks. But some of the numbers they're putting up, I mean, it's, you look at all the categories now, Hugh. They're right there near the top of the NFL. And listen to this stat. Cowboys yesterday, second team in the history of the NFL to complete 17 passes and finish yet with less than 50 passing yards. Okay, that's almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
The only other team to do that, Hugh, was the Giants 3 weeks ago against the Eagles defense. So they've now done this twice in a 3-week span.
Making history.
Dominating on the defense side of the football. And the other reason I'm thinking Super Bowl this morning, and I can't believe I'm saying this after the start of the season, but Jalen Hurts is quietly putting up some great stats, great numbers, and playing like a candidate to win the MVP. I'm telling you, you look at Jalen Hurts compared to the rest of the quarterbacks in the NFL, we nitpick everything.
Mm-hmm.
His passer rating is higher than it was 2 years ago when he was second in the MVP. His completion percentage is higher than it was 2 years ago when he finished second in the MVP. Hugh, I know the beginning of that game yesterday was a little choppy with Jalen.
Yeah.
But he is really, this last 4 or 5 weeks since the bye, he's playing some good football.
Yeah, man. You know, he threw for 202 yards. You're talking about that QBR rating. His passer rating was 115. His QBR wasn't that great, but still. You talk about a guy who started off rocky, but then he got it together, had one interception, you know, had been taking care of the football up until that point. But no, he's playing well. He's playing well, and his team is winning football games. And, you know, you're talking about rushing for over 187 yards. Well, 187 yards. So, yeah, they're in a good spot right now. They're trending in the right direction at the right time.
Look, they run the ball as well as anybody in the NFL. They're getting top 10 quarterback play right now. They're getting top 5 defensive play. I mean, you add those things together, that's a Super Bowl kind of team. That's what it looks like right now. 215-592-9494. All right, let's hear from Nick Sirianni. And he mentioned that defense, keeping them in it early when they did have those couple turnovers.
You know, that kind of happened in the Brazil game, too, against the Packers. They just kind of helped us stay in it when it wasn't going great. I think the defense has done a really nice job. They played a great game today. Forcing that turnover, I think after our turnover was huge to keep it at 7-3. But they played. I just thought that they started fast. They played great throughout the entire game. We tackled. I love when we tackle well. I mean, we've tackled really well. Just. Those guys on that football team on the Cowboys have some guys that can really do some damage with the ball in their hands. CeeDee Lamb, Ferguson, obviously Zeke, and 23. They got a lot of guys that can, and Turpin.
I like the 20. Just throw 23 in there. No,
throw it in there.
He's right, Hugh, about the defense. I mean, the defense, it's one thing to have a great game defensively, but it's another thing to make the stops when you need them. And early in that game yesterday, Hugh, the stops they made changed the whole tenor of the game. Like, once the Cowboys didn't score on the 2 chances they had to score deep in their own territory, the game was over. I mean, the Cowboys were not going to put together 4, 5, 6 drives. They needed to use their short fields, and they didn't do it. And then, of course, Sirianni commenting on Jalen Hurts, who continues to really be one of the better quarterbacks in the league since the bye. His numbers are outstanding. Even with the turnovers yesterday, he finished to play really strong. Here's Sirianni on Jalen Hurts.
How do you think Jalen played today? Yeah, I thought he did a lot of good things. You know, obviously didn't start the way we wanted it to start, but there's something to be said for guys that can rebound and play a really good game after things don't go right early on. We'll want some of those plays back. He'll want some of those plays back. But great job handling adversity, putting his head down, continuing to work. Again, I say it to you guys all the time. He's a winner. He knows how to win. He knows, every game's not going to be perfect. And I'm really proud of him and how he responded to a slow start and helped lead us to a victory.
Well, he did. I thought he actually, early in the game, he was taking too many sacks, held the ball a little bit too long.
A little bit.
And he had the interception.
He made his offensive line upset when he took one of those sacks.
And the fumble, obviously.
Yeah.
But I thought just looks-wise yesterday, just the eye test, he looked good. I didn't notice
He got over quick, man. He started the game. He looked a little rocky. And I tweeted out his offensive line was probably mad at him on one of those sacks that he took. And he got it together. That's all you could ask for. The outcome, that's why I say you can't complain about the way the cake was made if the cake's good. Man.
Well, the cake's really good right now. And I thought he looked good yesterday. The ankle doesn't seem to be, or whatever that is.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, we was all looking for it. I didn't see anything.
No, he moves really well. I mean, his passer rating, completion percentage are better than they were 2 years ago. Jalen Hurts is playing well. And if he's playing like this, even with the up and down yesterday, and they're getting this kind of defense, they're a Super Bowl contender. 215-592-9494. Let's revel in the Cowboys' demise and talk about the Eagles in the context of the Super Bowl. They're right there. They're 1 game behind Detroit for the 1 seed in the NFC. They are now atop the NFC East with the Commanders coming in here on Thursday night. Kyle, how you feeling the day after the Eagles go to Dallas and win by 4 touchdowns?
I'm not afraid anymore. I'm thinking about the Super Bowl, guys. I don't know how you can't. With the way that this defense is playing, I would even say, this is going to sound crazy because we know what that 22 defense did with all those sacks. I think this defense is better. I would take this defense against top quarterbacks like 9 times out of 10 over that 22 defense.
So, here's the sample so far is what? Love and Burrow?
Sure.
Do we count Cousins, or is he a little bit below that?
You can count Cousins.
All right, I think if we look at that, they've held their own against those guys.
They sure have.
And they have dominated the bad quarterbacks.
They really
crushed
have.
them.
And the one against Joe Burrow, the 17 points on the road in Cincinnati as underdogs against Joe Burrow was something I would never expect the 22 defense to do, even as good as they were. I think this defense is a Super Bowl defense. The quarterback's making plays with his legs. Like, he looks like a playmaker, a weapon out there again. And then if you just look around the rest of the league, like you kind of mentioned it, we nitpick all the details about this team and the way they win. But I don't see... Last season, there was the 49ers, and everyone's like, man, they are a step above everybody else in the league.
They were, yeah.
They ended up losing in the Super Bowl ultimately to the Chiefs, but you knew, like, the Niners were the team that everyone was sort of looking up at. I don't see that team this year. I know the Lions are 8-1, but 5 interceptions from Jared Goff yesterday, that's a performance that is very beatable. The Eagles could beat the Lions playing like that. I don't see one team where I'm like, man, they are head and shoulders better than the Eagles. And when you put it that way, I don't know how you can't be thinking about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I think this week is going to be a great measuring stick. You talk about that game that the Commodores had against the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday. That was a pretty good game. And it was a back and forth affair for most of it. But the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to win. And, you know, they're frothing at the mouth. They're a young team. And I think that this is going to be a good measuring stick for this defense because Jaden Daniels can move, man, and he gets the ball out of his hands quick. So I can't wait to see them up against the Commodores.
Well, the fun part is that we have this game. I mean, guys, at 2-2, even if you were very optimistic, did you really think 5 weeks later we'd be right here? I didn't think there was any chance. I mean, I thought the Eagles would get better after the bye, but I didn't think there was any chance we'd be here talking about the Super Bowl on November 11th. I mean, it's incredible how far this has come, how well this football team has played. And boy, it is fun to do it at the Cowboys' expense. I mean, that team...
Yeah, Jared was hot.
They are dead. Like dead. And I don't know if the Cowboys are going to be good again for a while. That's a bad football team. 215-592-9494. Your reaction to the Eagles win. They go to Dallas, win by 4 touchdowns. The defense continues to look like one of the top 5 or 6 defenses in the whole NFL. This offense beats you in a lot of ways. Fangio's made a big difference. Man, there's a lot to look forward to the rest of the season, starting Thursday, as you said. And, of course, do you feel it? Are you starting to think about it? The Super Bowl with a team that 5 weeks ago couldn't get out of its own way.